Hey guys, Eric Cogorno and Andrew Rice out here with Performance Golf. We've got one of my favorite topics today. When I discovered this in my own game, my game completely changed, and it's a drill and a feel that I learned from Andrew a long time ago that we're gonna show you here as we go to really learn how to hit your irons better, compress the ball, and get that consistency that we're all looking for. Andrew, if we flip-flop spots, I know a lot of the golfers that we see are coming in and they're seeking better, consistent contact. They want to compress those irons, get more consistent, hit it farther. And let's explain to them a little bit to start with, like what compression's all about, what do we need our impact to look like, and then we'll go through what the necessary pieces are to get to that, along with the
Cool, I
drill.
like the sound of that, Eric. Contact is king.
Contact is king.
It's amazing. You and I can go out there, any of us can go out there, and if we strike the ball well, we may not score that great, but we can have a good day.
That's right.
And
yeah.
if we can just strike the golf ball, that's a great place to start. And so let's take a look at really like how this club is designed and how we can actually start to get the sweet spot on the golf ball. I've got one of these club face indicators right here, just a very simple magnet that attaches to the face. I like to teach with this. It's great for illustration. And ideally what we're going to look for is at impact, we need that face to be angled more downward. Essentially, we're going to de-loft the club coming into impact. That in turn is going to expose that sweet spot to the back of the golf ball. We can now get the sweet spot on the back of the golf ball, and we see from all the data that we've gathered over the years that the best ball strikers in the world have this club head not necessarily pointing down, but the club head itself is traveling down.
Yeah.
Okay, not a lot. The club head's traveling down a little bit, but if we take Scotty Scheffler, for example, he's got a 34-degree 7-iron, and he's converting that 34 degrees of loft at impact. The golf ball is experiencing something that's less than 20, not by much. Let's call it 19. And so Scotty's got, I'd like to say, a minus 15 dynamic loft. That face is angled down quite a lot. And I know you know that so many of the golfers we encounter on the way down, when they're coming down, that club face, it doesn't like to, but it tends to get open on the way down. And now the golfer's really got to work hard by slowing the handle down, speeding up the toe of the golf club to get the face square. However, the loft is compromised, the strike is compromised, the trajectory is compromised.
Andrew had such a good video on Instagram. If we either, we'll put a picture here or I'll link it down in the description for you guys to watch, where he put a dot on his club head and literally showed that, like, to hit the sweet spot of the club, we have to have the club leaning forward. What is it, on the fourth or fifth groove up, something like that?
It's down low, but
yeah. So like you have to have it leaning forward to hit that. And to your point, Andrew, to get that Scotty Scheffler, any good ball striker, to get that loft down, the handle has to be forward. Right, that piece is non-negotiable. And like you mentioned, to get that, you know, there's a lot of pieces of the golf swing, but like the one thing that is non-negotiable, I mean, you simply cannot get the shaft lean we're talking about or compress it, and I'm talking about impossible, if your club face is open.
if your club face is open late in the downswing, it simply cannot happen. You can hit the ball straight, but it's got to be up there.
High and short.
Exactly. That's the kind of golfer who's never taken a divot. Their best strike is a pick. Most of them are thins or a little scrapey heavy hits, and they're just hoping to be able to pick it off the surface and get it going high and shorter than it really should be.
Yeah, that's you if you're watching and you're like, gosh, I feel like I should hit it a lot farther than this. This club's going nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Versus the compressed golfer. So if that's true, and we need to get the club face in place earlier, which you like to talk about here.
Yeah.
I know we've got this little drill, if we don't mind maybe showing us here. So I've used this. Do you put this in the top right there?
Yep.
I saw Andrew do this drill, gosh, over 10 years ago, and he's going to talk us through how you can use this simple T as a visual. If it's non-negotiable for us to get the club face square, to get the shaft lean we want, what we want to know is what can we do to control that club face? And let's assume we're going to leave the grip alone for these golfers, right?
Sure.
Let's assume the grip's wherever you have your grip. What is the main thing we can do then to control that club face?
There's a number of different things, and I'm not a fan of closing the face at address. In extreme cases, I might do that, but we're going to try to keep the face relatively square at address. Certainly closing the face, i.e. pointing it to the left for the right-handed golfer, is going to take some of the loft off. Okay, but not a fan of that. We are going to, however, as we go back, we're going to try to see if we can get the face to the ground, the face to the floor, the face in place going up. But I really like to stress for people on the way down, the most important piece is to be able to get the face in place by pointing it at the floor right there. Okay. And if you look at my T as a neat little correlation here, the T's pointing down to the ground. Watch this, if I open up the face, notice where the T starts to point. We want to get that T pointing to the ground because that's indicating where that face is pointing. And even if you go one-handed here and go, I've got to get that T angled down to the ground, certainly extreme right there, but that's what we're looking for because that is the only way that we can get the hands forward, the face de-lofted, strike and compress that golf ball.
So when you're doing that, Andrew, and you're going, because what we're saying is like, hey, if you get it good at that downswing spot,
yes,
that's kind of all that matters. But if we were to do it throughout different points of the swing, maybe let's give like a couple little checkpoints there. Like if you do the takeaway version again. So if we do the takeaway well, you know, the toes in front of the heel, the club face is still tilted down some amount. And so that tee's kind of down and away, yes, right at that point.
Correct.
And then what would the bad be? What would the bad would be up towards us? Kind of up towards the sky.
Yes. Toe
behind the heel, face too open. So very similar to like the delivery, huh?
Certainly.
Okay. And then let's say from the takeaway to the top of the backswing, if we show like a good versus a bad. So the
this is ideal.
So the good version, the tee's, what's that? Kind of like up and away from us.
Correct. Notice how the face is also up and away from us because that tee very closely mirrors where the face is pointing.
Yeah.
And then the incorrect version is going to be there.
Yeah, kind of pointed
towards that. T is pointing more towards me, the face is more towards me, and I'd love, especially if you're that high, weak ball hitter who doesn't take a divot, has never taken a divot, we've got to, even if it's a case of we make some practice swings and we get up to the top and we really try to feel, I like this little sense here, where put your hands together, take it up to the top, and we're going to point that tee up and away from us. Right there. See that lead wrist? It's I've never seen anyone put their hands together and go up to the top and do that. Right. They're going to go up there and almost automatically start to do that. And that's the sense we're looking for when we put our hands on the club up to the top there.
I like that. Let me go through some little feels there. Yeah. So like, you know, a couple of things come to mind here. Obviously, different golfers will have different grips. There's different swing styles. But what we're saying to you, regardless of where your grip is, because certain grips lend themselves to certain things, but if you are looking at impact and you look like this, you know, handle back, add and loft, whatever, it doesn't really matter what grip style you have. You need more of this move with the tee relative to where you currently are just to get to like neutral.
Correct.
It may be neutral for a lot of people, right, Andrew? Like the piece that really helped me a lot when I was doing this to change things, because I definitely was cupped here, but I had this angle in my lead wrist, was I was seeking flat.
Great.
Seeking flat.
And we don't need to be DJ.
Right.
We don't need to be DJ up top. We just need less of that cup angle and a little bit more flat, or even less cup, flat, or bowed. We'll take any one of those options.
And like when I looked at my swings before, guys, when I was doing this, I was about here. I felt like DJ, and I looked pretty flat.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes when I might be exaggerating this in the beginning, if you might feel that, but just seeking flat I think is a pretty good spot to live. When we do this with this club face on, like Andrew showed, I love this visual. When I've got a club face that's really any amount open coming down in impact, if I did all the moves we want, passive release, handle forward, my club face would be pointed so far to the right.
Bingo.
I'd hit Andrew, my brain would never do that. And so like he said, right, I can, if the face is open, I can square it by having this throw motion with the handle back. That's short, high, right?
And look at all that loft right there.
Probably thins, poor contact.
Yep.
So if we want to get this look to it, imagine the club face is more closed coming into the ball. It would only serve to reason that my brain would be incentivized to have the handle more forward, to have that still point at the target.
I love that and that are matching each other right now. That's very cool.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I like that. not up towards the sky this way at the time. So let me go through some feels here. Because and we said, really so long as you guys get it in here on the way down, we're pretty happy.
Tough to go wrong from there.
Okay. So maybe you guys can play around. You can maybe feel it early in the takeaway, feel it a little bit later at the top, early in transition, and really see what they like.
Yeah.
Right, see what they like best. Because I like the concept of having it squarer sooner for everyone, but the reality is some people like different things, right?
Whatever can work, really. And
Whatever works.
I think one of the products of this, Eric, is any golfer who's trying that is straight away going to see that they now possess the ability to take a 7-iron and 8-iron and hit a lower shot. That stinger punch out into the wind type shot. So come on, show us a little one of those here.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be full, just let's keep the loft down.
I'm gonna give you a little Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna feel that I'm gonna focus in on the tee first here. This is where I started when I did this in my own swing, was the takeaway version. So kind of right in here, the tee's down towards the ground. Kind of do a little 3/4 motion here. And Andrew, that's about as good as I could hit a 3/4 7.
Lovely. I can tell you, standing alongside those acoustics is invigorating, Eric.
So the compression, right? Like
Yeah.
getting the club face ready to go. Now, when you guys are doing this, play around with doing it early, like that. See how that goes. The tee's down a little. You know, they can reference the glove logo, right?
Sure.
I'm certainly not.
Keep it out of sight.
Keep it out of sight.
Yeah, the glove logo.
Ooh,
Keep
yeah,
that
okay.
glove logo
Keep the
down.
glove logo out of sight, the toes down. And then when I'm going here to the top, if I kept feeling it, I'm kind of feeling the tee. I'm almost feeling the tee and the glove logo like back away almost
Yes,
from the target.
away from the target.
And if I'm feeling that on the way down, I almost would even feel that on the way down a little more,
Yeah.
if anything.
Yeah.
Not up and towards me. Okay, let me do that one more time. That felt good. Down here. So tee down, face is kind of down a little bit, ready to go. Little 3/4 shot again. It was a slightly thin shot, but I would still take that.
I like the trajectory.
Still a good
there.
flight. Yeah, a little pushy, but
Yeah.
not bad from there. So when you guys are doing this, you know, signs that you've done it correctly, like Andrew said, lower flight, compressed, straighter. Signs you probably haven't done it enough, high, weak right. Signs you maybe overdid it, low left. But a big thing here, and the reason I bring this up, if you're doing these moves in the beginning and you hit some low left, you should be encouraged, not discouraged,
Agreed,
because
yeah.
probably you're closing the face
Yeah.
and still doing the old release pattern,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
a double whammy.
Correct.
And so if you can learn how to do this earlier, and then you can feel more kind of passive and better on the way through. Do you see that?
That old compensation will get flushed out. A lot of people think, well, cause and effect, if you take care of the cause, the effect is going to go by the wayside. And it doesn't really work like that.
Right.
The effect, because it's been so learned, and it's actually been so necessary to make this golf swing function, it sticks around for a while. And so don't be distracted. Don't be turned away from working on this if you start to hit some low left ones. I would
Exactly.
anticipate that.
Almost a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost a good thing. Okay, I got one more in me. I'm gonna do the same thing. This time I'm gonna take it up to the top and feel that tee down and then like away from me is the sensation. Tee down and away. This brings back memories for years. These were my feels on the course that really changed my consistency of ball striking. Down and away. And there's a good example there where like,
Little left.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a pull draw, but I hit it as solid as I could. That tells me I squared it better here. Probably had a little bit too much, you know, squaring on the way through, but I know that I'm moving in the right direction. If anything, just don't keep hitting those weak right shots. Don't keep hitting those weak right shots.
We
Like,
know you
exaggerate.
don't want it. We know.
Gosh, I hope that those help. Andrew, appreciate
Thanks,
you
Eric.
as always.
Thank you.
If you guys have any questions on this, leave a comment down below. If you want some in-person coaching, some more intensive, what do you guys do, 2 and 3 day golf schools?
Mostly 3s, but we do some 2 days. Yeah.
3 days. So imagine 3 days of learning this with Andrew as coaches, immersive environment. Love the golf schools. We'll put a link down in the description down below if you want to check those out. Appreciate you guys watching as always.